Oh, well, thank you, Rod. Thank you so much for that kind introduction. It's really good to be here today with all of you in Reno, and I'm excited to have this opportunity to speak with you. I'd like to take a minute to thank the executive board for inviting me. Also, I'd like to thank Chris Brown for making the arrangements for me to be here. And thanks to all of you for getting up early to come and join me. I know how tempting it must have been to sleep in or maybe stop off at the slots. Now, I don't have that temptation, particularly for the slots. They gave me a room up on the 13th floor. I took that as the Lord's way of saying, stay out of the casino, work on your speech. Of course, I didn't know I'd be following a bylaws discussion. You know how they say in show business, you never want to follow kids or animals? I'll take my chances following bylaws. I'm here to make the moral and biblical case for capitalism. But before I dive into this topic, I'll just give you a little bit of additional background. I don't know why after that introduction. But just to sort of explain why this is a really important topic to me that I'm passionate about. As Rod alluded to, I'm not from Washington. I've never spent time inside the Beltway. My entire career has been in California, on the opposite side of the country from D.C. Early in my career, I quit a stable job in finance to join PayPal. And we were able to take that .com from losing $10 million a month to being profitable and eventually being acquired by eBay. And I detail all that in my book called The PayPal Wars. I figure I can't really give a speech without mentioning that at least once. And so soon after eBay acquired PayPal, I left to start my own company, World Ahead Media, publishing startup with a conservative and free market focus. World Ahead was acquired by WorldNet Daily last year. It's been renamed WorldNet Daily Books. And now the reason I mention all this is to make the point that I've seen firsthand what entrepreneurship in the capitalist economy can accomplish. I've seen how jobs are created, how good companies are built, and how the amazing power of the free market can be harnessed. So it disturbs me to watch as the free enterprise system comes under attack from liberal politicians in Washington, D.C., people who know nothing about capitalism except that they want to control it. During his campaign for president last year, Barack Obama told John Harwood at CNBC that he believed in capitalism. He said, and I quote, "I am a pro-growth, free market guy. I love the market. I think it is the best invention to allocate resources and produce enormous prosperity for America or the world that's ever been designed." But since Obama was sworn in last January, the federal government has expanded its control over private enterprise on a scale not seen in several generations. Under the guise of solving the economic crisis created by the mortgage meltdown, Washington, D.C. is now vastly increasing its involvement in the banking, automotive, energy, and healthcare industries. New bureaucracies are being proposed, and Congress is on a spending spree. The federal deficit is expected to average $1 trillion every year for the next decade. Congress is even debating a bill that would allow the government to create a detailed set of standards for cybersecurity, as well as take over the process of certifying IT technicians. Washington, D.C. certifying IT technicians. Really? Washington wants to run cybersecurity. And we all thought Windows Vista was bad. In the words of the Wall Street Journal's Kimberly Strassel, the Beltway has manufactured a creative history. A creative history that says greedy bankers got out of hands. We need more regulations and less freedom. In that atmosphere, it's not surprising that Ron Bloom, the White House manufacturing czar, recently said in a speech that, quote, "We know that the free market is nonsense. We know that the whole point is to game the system. We kind of agree with Mao that political power comes largely from the barrel of a gun." While one White House czar is quoting Mao Zedong, another czar is micromanaging executive salaries, and another czar is overseeing the auto companies. There are czars for healthcare, information technology, and general technology. There are a couple of economic czars. And there was a czar for green jobs, but that spot's vacant now. It seems like every aspect of the economy is suddenly being managed by D.C. bureaucrats. While I like to think that these policies reflect only the sentiments of extreme left-wing ideologues in Washington, the truth is that capitalism is under fire more broadly. An April poll by Rasmussen revealed that only 53% of Americans believe capitalism is better than socialism. 1/5 of all Americans say that socialism is better, and 27% don't know. Adults under 30 are evenly split, with 37% opting for capitalism and 33% for socialism. Earlier this year, Newsweek ran a cover story entitled, "We Are All Socialists Now." While that's mostly wishful thinking on the part of Newsweek's editorial staff, the unpleasant truth is that capitalism has a major image problem. And unless those of us who believe in traditional values and a limited government speak out and rebut the critics of capitalism, the situation is not going to improve. Now, part of that answer is properly explaining what caused last year's financial crisis. To be blunt, John McCain and George Bush failed to do this. Hence, the left's creative history has become the accepted narrative. Since NFRA members are an educated group, I won't spend much time recounting how the federal government, through the Community Reinvestment Act, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, distorted the mortgage market and helped create the subprime time bomb that detonated over the past couple of years. Stanford economist John Taylor, in a short book entitled "Getting Off Track," also demonstrates how bad monetary policy by the Federal Reserve created the real estate bubble. Now, while it's important to understand how bad fiscal, regulatory, and monetary policy created this financial crisis, defending the free market requires more than just a policy wonk response. Demonstrating that government meddling in the economy had unintended consequences is important, but it's not the same as articulating the virtues of the free market. The critique against capitalism goes far beyond just blaming it for the current recession. Critics today go so far as to say that the free market is contrary to the teachings of Christ, that it is cruel, exploitative, and the cause of so much poverty and suffering around the globe. In a word, they are saying that capitalism is evil. It's important to answer this accusation. Today we have an entire generation of voters who do not remember Ronald Reagan, much less the harm collectivism did to the countries behind the Iron Curtain. Capitalism does not have the moral high ground in their eyes, nor does socialism seem inherently wrong. In our current political and cultural environment, the argument for the free market needs to be made afresh. Fortunately, it's an easy one to make. Capitalism is the most moral and fair economic system ever devised by man. In short, capitalism is good, and proving this is not hard. I'm going to present 3 points to make this case. First, capitalism was inspired by biblical principles. It's an economic system based on the teachings of God's Word. Second, capitalism runs on win-win transactions. It's an economic system that produces a positive sum game and rewards those who help their fellow man. And third, capitalism has blessed the world. It's an economic system that has lifted billions out of poverty while changing the course of human history. We'll address all 3 points in turn. Point number 1. Capitalism was inspired by biblical principles.